Hey folks, welcome back to FreepCast. My name is Robb Murray. I'm here with Free Press Managing Editor Joe Spear. And Joe, in your household, if you guys spend too much money, what happens?
Well, we cut back, or we put it on a credit card, and yes, we try not to do it again and talk about it.
Which brings us to the first story we're going to talk about today, which is the city. Things are costing more.
City of Mankato Riverfront Drive project is really exploding with a lot of different news of cost overruns and weird stuff that's happening that really shouldn't be happening. Mark Fishnick has been covering this really well and really in depth. And the last thing that kind of blew up at Monday at City Hall, so we had a heads up on this overspending that was found and this lack of estimates and some of the other troubles from City Manager Susan Arntz, who asked to talk to Mark before the meeting, to her credit, wanting to get it out there in the open. Mistakes were made. Basically, the project was not estimated with all the costs that were being incurred. So now the estimate is 18% over what the original estimate was. There was an unauthorized spending on stoplights of $1 million. Someone at City Hall Engineering Department was supposed to get authorization to do this, and they didn't. Arntz said it's still hard to explain, unexplainable. We're trying to find that out. They did have their city auditors go in through this whole project and figure out what is what, and they're going to they're going to have another independent firm investigate how the process was carried out. Basically, some mistakes, costly mistakes in spending and estimating and oversight. That's the big question, I guess.
Is this the second time we've talked about a story where somebody in the city is...
So the first one was
something without approval?
Yeah, the first one was about the lights alone. They ordered the wrong lights. And so they had they wanted decorative lights and they got highway lights. So they had to go back and order the decorative lights, and they said the money spent on the highway lights is not going to be wasted because we need those anyway. But yeah, that was another mistake and lack of oversight and things that happened. So at least they're being upfront with it, and that's good. I think the council seemed to me...
Wasn't there another issue though about the right of way or something? There was. Somebody was waiving fees for something?
Oh, yeah. That was contractors and developers are supposed to pay a fee when they block a sidewalk or a street. And it was a pretty hefty fee, I don't know, $300 a day or something like that. And someone had authorized reductions to those fees. Yes, that's another thing that happened.
This is the third time now that we've seen a monetary... whatever you call a mistake or
lack of oversight.
Yeah.
It appears that is the big issue. So I think the council, to me, didn't seem to be asking enough tough questions when this was brought to them. They were kind of surprised, and people have been there a long time. And maybe the report that comes out, which we don't know when it's going to come out, will detail that and what the process was. I mean, Arntz said basically the initial audit said their procedure's right, but their people didn't follow through. So, but when your people don't follow through that, the buck stops at you. So I think the council, needs to ask tougher questions. Maybe they have already, but at some point, someone has to oversee this spending, and we got to know the process. Who is supposed to do what and what didn't they do? Are they supposed to say, here, I'm going to spend $1 million in traffic lights? Here, Susan Arntz, can you approve this? Apparently that didn't happen.
Well, at least we're doing our job.
Trying to, yes. Mark's doing an excellent job on this, and
Mark's always thorough, doing a great job.
I want to explain again. You don't get this kind of journalism anywhere else in this city, and so that's watchdog journalism at its best. If you, taxpayer, want people to watch how your money's being spent, invest in this newspaper, support this newspaper. Enough said about that. But I want to make sure we mention our podcast to our sponsors, who are supporting this podcast. And that is Minnesota Valley Federal Credit Union. They're happily serving those who live, work, or do business in Blue Earth, Nicollet, Le Sueur, Waseca, Brown, Watonwan County since 1934. Thanks to them for supporting us and supporting this great journalism. Another kind of thing that's been in the news, the MSU students who had their eligibility to be here revoked, right, a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. There was 12 of them. And we found out last Friday 8 of them have been reinstated. Again, no word on why.
Again, for no reason why.
No reason. ICE is as cold as ice. They don't say anything. You can hardly know that anyone exists that works at the organization. They say so little.
I'm hoping these students didn't make plans to go home. I'm sure they thought they did.
Mm-hmm. Well, I had an email into Dan Benson, MSU spokesperson, last week, and then he got back to us on Friday, and that is actually when the news happened. So I was asking do you know about enrollment next fall? Is it down, or can you tell yet? And they don't know yet about international student enrollment. And I know when we talked with the dean of global studies here, he said, they're planning extra events this summer for students who are staying, who normally wouldn't stay. So we know that much.
Is that out of fear that if they go home, they may not be able to come back?
I think it is. Yeah, that's what he was alluding to or saying directly. So we'll continue to watch that story. And there was an announcement right before we had the announcement that the Trump administration was doing this nationwide. They were reinstating a lot of the students. So again, maybe they're not thinking through everything they're doing before they do it.
You think?
It seems like. Not a week goes by when we don't talk about fentanyl overdoses. There's 3 face new murder charges for their involvement in a fentanyl overdose. Again, we'll be following that case. I think someone was just sentenced for a fentanyl murder overdose case. I don't know what to say about that. It just keeps happening. We probably got to check in with authorities. And last time we checked, the numbers of overdoses were going down because they thought there was more availability of Narcan and assistance. So we'll have to. Seems like there's a lot of them coming forward. Again, another big development news, we finally heard something about the post office. People have been asking about what are they going to do with the post office. Stuff going through City Hall. So Mark Fishnick is looking at the permits. They're requesting some rezoning of downtown around the post office to make it a central business district rezoning. Not sure why it wasn't already, but must be a nuance there. And so we pick up on that, and we get more idea about what they're planning for the post office, the developers, and the person who's involved with the new hotel, I believe it was Brian Sowers, talked to us about the post office, somewhat connected. But they're going to have plans for a hotel behind the post office. I forget which one it was, but kind of a more extended stay hotel, a brand name we'd recognize.
Where the parking lot is now.
Where the parking lot is now.
Yeah.
And then the post office would be transformed into offices, which there are some there now, but then also a restaurant, a big lobby area, event space, and a bar called Crave. They have these in different places. So they seem to be getting, not just starting from scratch, but getting brand name, well-tested hotels and restaurants and bars into these places. And it's a beautiful building, so I can't wait to, see some of the redevelopment and what they've done. I'm curious of what they're going to do with that second floor old federal courthouse. You ever been in there?
I have been. It's really, really something.
It's got
nice.
Like cherry wood everywhere. Beautiful, beautiful place. That would be so cool to see that turned into a...
When did they stop using that as a federal courthouse? I know it was used primarily for bankruptcy cases, right?
Yeah. That's what the last thing it was used for, I'm going to say 10 or 15 years ago. But since then hadn't really used it for anything.
Do you have any insight on what's been going on with the post office? They made that fancy video 3-4 years ago.
Oh, the developers?
Yeah.
You mean for the post office?
Yeah, they call it the Post now, and there was big plans for it to be a entertainment site or some kind of a venue, and then there was nothing for 2 years.
Yeah, they didn't say anything. Well, I think it just takes time to get the financing and the plans lined up. And boy, I don't know if they tried to kick that off during the pandemic. It must have been a few years ago, so that might have delayed things.
It was right about when they had the what's that fashion show?
Raw Fusion.
They had Raw Fusion there, which was really cool.
Yes. So I think, and then we did hear from one of the developers who said they were kind of waiting for the hotel project to really get its feet going and get going, and now that's on its way. You know, that the demolition is almost complete, so that's going to happen. And so now maybe and that's why I think they're connected in some way. So that will fill. I mean, there's 2 boutique hotels that opened since they announced this, but they're not many rooms. I mean, they're 10 or 12 or 28 rooms or something.
By the way, if you're listening and you haven't been to the downtown area for a while, come on downtown and check out where the Holiday Inn used to be. Because if you're used to driving by that every day, seeing how it's been for, well, as long as I've been here, it's looked the same, and now it's completely changed.
Yeah,
it's gone. It's a hell of a sight. Really
transform that corner, that main entryway to the city. So yeah, that's pretty exciting that is finally being announced. And again, we got a lot of details. We got more details. The developer talked to us, giving details. So we're the place to go for that kind of news and just watching everything. But yeah, so a couple other just interesting little tidbits. Manufactured home burned to the ground last weekend, but now someone who was associated with it lived there is accused of arson. That was Southeast Village, which is on the southeast of Mankato, right? It's that one off of... it's not the one by the university, but it's the one behind that. So anyway, had the first tornado watch of the season.
Exciting stuff.
Not much happened, which is...
Thankfully.
Let's go back to Sean Cable and the weather guys. It's their fault. Come on, don't overplay this. No, seriously, I know I appreciate the Weather Service and all the weather guys.
I mean, you want them to be that way because
yes, overly cautious.
When it's really bad, you're going to thank them for warning you in advance.
And we're going to have cuts to the Weather Service, by the way.
Yeah. Yes, we are. Including all the Spanish.
I got to check with the Minneapolis office because it seems like they were a little slow on getting their local storm reports up during this tornado. And I don't know if something was going on technically with them or if they got less people. Who knows? But
I think our friends at KTOE, though, were on the spot, right?
Yeah. And there was some tornado eventually seen or touched down over by Faribault, I think is what our follow-up report today says.
Initially, I think somebody said there was one by
Amboy, and that was on the radio, and we never could confirm that.
I don't think it materialized.
So we didn't go for that.
Was that an overzealous spotter?
Well, they said a spotter noticed it,
right.
And that's why I look at the local storm reports from the Weather Service because they have up to date, and they're all from spotters, and the NWS and Twin Cities also puts it on their Twitter feed pretty good. They keep that updated. So I want to mention a couple interesting sports things. West upsets East in girls softball. The girls softball team that's been state champion the last couple of years. So West had a great game with them yesterday. But East beat West in baseball. So there you go. A good story you may not have seen in our sports section. The former Mankato East basketball standout, BJ Amat. Yeah. So he was recruited right away to North Dakota, Grand Forks. 1 year there, he wanted more of a challenge, goes out to UCLA, has a year, 4 games, gets hurt. And now he is going to go join the Gophers with the new coach. I think that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, and they need them.
Yeah, they do. They're 14 and 15 or something like that this year. Not good. Haven't been to the NCAA tournament since Patino, which is 8 or 9 years ago. But I think it'll be cool to see a local kid like that in the Gophers. And
I don't remember ever a local kid playing for the Gophers.
I don't either. You know,
like ever.
Yeah, I mean, we had Philip Nelson who played for the Gophers for football.
I mean, basketball,
1 year.
though.
Yeah, but basketball, I don't either. So that's going to be really cool. It's a cool story. He seems like a nice kid, a good kid, just wants to, and he's going to be able to play 2 years. So how cool is that?
Does he get a third year? Does he get a COVID year?
I think he does. Well, let's see. No, he said COVID messed him up in high school. So, so he played 1 year, second year. He took a red shirt. And that's why he gets two. He took a red shirt. That's why he gets 2 more years.
Okay.
But that's kind of a cool story.
Are you going to talk about the Vietnam thing?
Yes.
Before you get there, I'm going to mention just Hairball's coming.
Hairball, yeah.
In a summer of this has to be the most concert announcements I've ever heard from the Civic Center. Yeah, there's just,
a lot,
a whole bunch of
good
them.
To
and
see.
It's really good to see. Hairball probably doesn't land the way it does for the other ones because we've had like national acts be announced last few weeks. I'm going to throw a bone to Hairball. If you don't know who they are, they are a band that is essentially a cover band or a tribute band of all the bands,
and all the hair bands
of all the hair bands, and they'll show up. And what I want to say about them is I did speak to the guitar player a number of years ago. If you go on there, if you look them up on Spotify, you can find they've got a version of Van Halen's Eruption. Do you know that song? It's one long guitar solo by Eddie Van Halen, one of the most well-known guitar solos ever. Yeah. This guy does it note for note.
Wow.
And it's really, really impressive. And I've laughed at Hairball before because, it's Hairball.
Yeah.
But if you listen to them, and they've got a loyal following all over the southern part of the state, I think. Their shows sell out all the time. It's not a bad idea to go to see Hairball.
Yeah.
If you just like good music.
A lot of the old hair band tunes.
They do a lot of Kiss songs, a lot of Van Halen. Yeah. Anybody that's like metal, 80s era metal, and they rehearse them down to the note, and they get them down to like what you remember hearing on the radio, which I think is for what they do. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
another band comes to mind that does a really good job, tribute to their person, the Church of Cash. Have you ever heard them?
Yeah.
They're awesome. I think they're going to be in New Ulm at the new. They transformed the school into a venue, the old school, and that's really going to be. But I've heard them, and they are unbelievably like a Johnny Cash.
Well, the
show.
guy, the Cash show we had here a few weeks ago, that's the same guy. He does the Church of Cash.
Yeah. Okay.
His voice is remarkably like Johnny Cash.
Yeah, it is remarkably. So some cool entertainment things coming up. Might want to mention too, our warm up by Casey Eck is going to be out, or already is possibly, already is out. But we're going to have a feature in the Sunday Currents on the band.
I believe it's already on our YouTube page, right, Casey? Yep, he's nodding. He's nodding.
Squid
yes.
City Slingers. Okay. And Mankato Mag coming up. The July issue is all the best of, so everybody always goes for that. And it's a big issue, big, our biggest issue of the year. And the votes are just coming in. They're just about done being tallied. And we're going to start in on the little featurettes we do on all those businesses, entertainment, bartenders.
It's the most read issue of the year for the Mankato magazine.
Yep.
People want to see who the winners are.
Absolutely. Well, that's cool. Okay, I'll maybe finish up just talking about our Sunday story we had by Edie Schmerbach, commemorating the 50th anniversary of the fall of Saigon, which is actually today, April 30th, but we did it last Sunday. And we interviewed Vietnam vets who had experiences over there, and also a couple who were from Vietnam who now run a restaurant in Mankato here, but had also experiences from the Vietnamese side. And we had a big, nice graphic, if you missed that, detailing a full page of Fall of Saigon. And it's a really great story, just listening to some of the veterans, giving them a chance to speak. Many of them did not feel they could speak much when they got home, and now we're hearing from them. And it was just just reminds you, I think it was 58,000 young Americans died in Vietnam, many of them 19 or younger. And reminds you of the sacrifices and what that war was still about. Vietnam has a communist government still, because we were over there to fight the communists, right? The North Vietnamese, South were more democratic. Although it seems like it's not a total dictatorship. If you read the Wikipedia about it, it's got some elements of democratic institutions in it. They got like a parliament, and they got 4 people that kind of split power, and the court is separate. So it's decent, and they do a decent amount of trade with the U.S. now. They're one of our big trading partners. So interesting to see what happened. When I read some of the things about the fall of Saigon, it was kind of chaotic getting the Americans out of there, similar to what happened in Afghanistan a few years ago. Just really everybody going for the airport, getting in the helicopters and getting out of there. But I do have my quote of the week from one of the veterans that we interviewed, a guy named John Provost. And he explains his family was involved in the military, and that's kind of why he went in. And in World War II, there were 5 brothers, he said. 2 died overseas. Provost's decision to enlist in part was out of respect for his uncles. His uncle Jack's words had provided motivation to sign up. Quote, I had been running all over the country. He came to talk to me and said, you got to grow up. You got to join the Army and learn how to become a man. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.